A group of heroes are called from another world and they are met by a princess. They have passed the assessment of their abilities and they are all gifted with unique skills such as the technique of wielding the sacred sword and the ability to use all kinds of magic. Then we meet with Mukoda, and when he is evaluated, he reveals a strange skill of buying goods on the internet. Upon hearing this, Mukoda is shocked, thinking that his skill is useless and wonders if he has anything else. But he is told that this is his only unique skill. He gets desperate, wondering why everyone else has such strong skills. Despite this, he is told that he will still need to get an audience with the king. The heroes get an audience with the king, and he explains that their kingdom has been attacked by the demon king. He asks them for help and the three heroes quickly offer their help. Mukoda, on the other hand, decides that he is not made to be a hero, thinking that he will only get in the way, and says that he just wants to live a simple life. Eventually he gets out and they even send him away with 20 gold coins. In the city, he begins to attract people's attention with his strange outfit, so he quickly buys a change of clothes. He walks around the neighborhood, trying to get to know this world better, and eventually gets a room. He is relieved that he decided not to be a hero, as the king was suspicious of how luxurious they seemed, and decides that he should leave the kingdom as soon as possible. Mukoda checks his stats and sees that he has an item storage skill and an evaluation skill. He tries to use his skill of buying goods on the internet, but nothing happens. He is interested in how his skill works and eventually he clicks on it, after which the page of his online store opens. Mukoda tries to use it by ordering some water and food. He tries to check out, but there he asks for money, and he finds that he can put his coins on the screen. After confirming his order, a parcel with his belongings instantly appears and Mukoda is happy that his skill really came in handy. In the end, he learns that a gold coin is worth about $100, and the 20 gold coins that he was given would be enough for the family to live for 3 months. The next day, Mukoda finds a ride to leave the kingdom. Along the way, he meets a merchant and, after talking with him, finds out that his item storage skill is actually very rare and only 1 in 1,000 people has access to this skill. After hearing this, Mukoda continues to ask about the assessment skill and the man says that it is even rarer, because only heroes summoned from another world can possess this skill. Hearing this, Mukoda becomes nervous and tries not to show any suspicions. The man asks him where he is going and Mukoda tells him that he is trying to get to a neighboring kingdom. This man tells him that leaving here is a reasonable decision, because the kingdom is moving towards destruction and there are rumors that the borders are about to close. Mukoda was shocked to hear this, and eventually their carriage was suspended. At a local tavern, Mukoda learns that the transport service has been discontinued so that people cannot escape to neighboring countries. After all, if people ran away, the kingdom's army would shrink in size. Therefore, men advise them to get out of here while they still have the opportunity. Mukoda wonders how he can get out of here, worrying about the monsters he might encounter. In the end, he goes to the Adventurers Guild and asks for an escort to get out of the kingdom. Claire tells him that since he is walking, it will take several days, so the cost will be 8 gold pieces. He is alarmed by this price, but seeing that he has no other options, he agrees to this price. The seller calls an adventurer to him and we get acquainted with Werner, an adventurer of naval rank. They negotiate about completing the task and Mukoda offers to provide them with food during the trip and they come to an agreement. They prepare to set off the next day and Werner introduces them to the rest of his squad. And here is Vincent the swordsman, Rita the scout, Ramon the magician and the funk healer. They hit the road and soon stop to rest. Mukoda goes to cook something to eat, taking out a stove from his storage. Vincent is surprised to see how he knows how to store food, and Rita is impressed by his magic stove. In one of the flashbacks, we see how the store owner is trying to sell him a magic stove for 50 gold. But instead, he managed to find a cheap portable stove in his online store. In the end, he cooked some soup and sandwiches and when everyone present tasted this dish, they were amazed. Ramon finds the soup very tasty, but in fact it was just instant soup. They find the bread very soft, call it the best bread they have ever tasted and are glad that they took up this mission. The group continues on its way, but it is attacked by some monsters. Werner and Vincent manage to deal with them quickly, but Mukoda is amazed at what he saw at the scene. When they come to, Rita informs them that there is a red boar's head there. They discuss how to deal with her, but she suddenly appears and Mukoda is shocked by her size. Werner tells him to take cover and they engage in battle with the boar. The boar is defeated and Mukoda is struck by the force. In the end, they strip the skin and horns off the boar, but they have too much meat to take it with them, so Mukoda suggests putting the meat in his warehouse. They decide to stop for dinner and the whole group is looking forward to the opportunity to eat his food. They crowd around him to watch, but Mukoda begins to worry, saying that he feels uncomfortable, but in fact he does not want to reveal his special abilities. He gets down to cooking, combining bacon, cabbage, potatoes and even adding sausages to create a delicious stew. He hands out bowls to everyone and while they eat, the flower then wonders if they won't like it, but soon they stuff their mouths and all ask for a second. Mukoda is surprised that they like it so much, and Ramon says that they usually eat dried meat and stale bread when traveling. Rita even feels that thanks to this food, her body is in better shape. Mukoda finds this a bit strange and decides to use his assessment skill. He is shocked to see that Rita's stats have improved and when he evaluates the food, he sees that she gives a buff. Mukoda begins to worry thinking that if someone finds out about this he may be in danger, so he is determined to keep it a secret. But there's an animal watching them from the bushes. Our company continues its journey in this direction. A few days away from the neighboring kingdom, they set up camp in the forest and Mukoda decides to cook them some boar meat for dinner. He starts cooking the meat by slicing it into pieces, and uses a special sauce from his store to season it. When he starts cooking it, the others are amazed by its smell and it even attracts the attention of the beast. When Mukoda finishes, the others look at him in awe. As soon as they try it, they are immediately amazed, because they have never tried anything like this before. They all praise Mukoda, but he just thanks for his secret sauce. When Mukoda discusses his cooking method, fear suddenly appears on their faces and the beast appears from behind him. They are shocked to see Fenrir talking to them, demanding to eat some meat. Mukoda quickly hands him a plate and he eats it in one bite. He demands more, and Mukoda asks him to wait while he cooks more. The beast agrees and Mukoda quickly cooks even more meat. He has a huge plate, but the beast eats it and demands more. Mukoda continues to cook, and the beast continues to eat and demand more. After he cooked over and over again, the beast eventually had enough. The beast was impressed that Mukoda managed to satisfy him and decided to sign a familiar contract with him. Mukoda thinks it's a bad idea and tries to refuse, but the beast stares at him and he just can't refuse. His friends cheer him on and he reluctantly agrees. The head of the beast begins to glow and the two of them sign a contract. With these words, the beast tells Mukoda that he is now responsible for taking care of him, waiting for 3 meals a day, and Mukoda remains shocked by what he has stumbled into. According to the terms of the contract, the beast tells him to give him some name. Mukoda tries to think, coming up with common dog names, but it does not make any impression on the beast. Seeing Fenrir in him, Mukoda offers him to fall, and the beast agrees. As the party continues, people avoid them, and Warner worries that they won't be able to cross the border. Rita explains that there is a legend about how Fenrir destroyed an entire country and Franco says that it definitely happened. Mukoda starts to worry, but Fel tells him that he will destroy anyone who dares to mess with them, but this only makes them even more nervous. They have a lunch break and when Mukoda goes to cook, he realizes that he has run out of meat. When Fel demands meat, Mukoda says he eats too much and tells him to catch his own food. Fel agrees to this and heads into the forest, leading the rest of the squad, amazed that he can already command the beast. Fel soon returns, bringing with him a stone bird, and Warner is surprised to say that it is a monster of the highest rank, which they would normally struggle to defeat. His beak and claws are very valuable and Fel allows them to add materials as long as he gets meat. Mukoda starts cooking them lunch, treating him like a chicken. He uses teriyaki sauce for flavor. He serves the guests at the party and Fel wonders what his share of this dinner is. Mukoda tells him that since he eats so much, he will have to wait until the end, and he patiently waits for his turn. Mukoda prepares a huge portion for Phil and he eats it all with pleasure. After that, the whole company gets to the border of the Venom Kingdom. The guards are on high alert and Werner says they are preparing to meet Phil. He tells them to wait until he comes down and explains the situation. Mukoda wonders if everything will be fine, and soon they find themselves completely surrounded. The commander is worried about letting in a beast that could destroy the country, but Mukoda tells Fella not to cause any trouble. And Fel says he will only destroy those who harm them. The soldiers are amazed that he can talk, and eventually the commander agrees to let them inside. When they enter, the band members show their guild cards, but Mukoda doesn't have them, so he has to pay to enter. They finally enter, and Werner warns Mukoda that people will chase him when they hear that he has a legendary familiar. Mukoda becomes desperate, thinking that he has moved away from politics. But he says that they will not stay too long, planning to continue traveling, making money using their unique skills of working in the store. Werner suggests that it would be useful to join a guild, and Mukoda is considering the possibility of creating a merchant guild. However, Vincent points out that the Adventurers Guild could help with refreshing and buying materials from the animals Fel hunts, so Mukoda finds it difficult to make a decision. But Franco says that, although it's not that common, you can just register with both guilds. The party heads into town and Mukoda gets another fee. There is a servant there who immediately greets him, inviting him to get to know the Count as a legendary beast tamer. Mukoda does not want to go and tries to refuse him, but the man insists that he go with him. However, when Fel approaches him, he threatens the man, who runs away in terror. Werner is worried about making an enemy, but Fel says he can handle anything they throw at him. Vincent suggests that they will need a dragon to counter Fella. Mukoda is shocked to learn that dragons exist, and Fel agrees that a dragon would be the only creature that could match him, saying that he once fought one of them 400 years ago. Werner persuades Mukoda to agree to their work, and Mukoda is surprised that he can understand this language, thinking that it must be a skill with which heroes are summoned. The group thanks him for the delicious food, and the party goes in different directions. Mukoda goes to the merchant guild, and others try to avoid him. As soon as he enters, everyone turns their attention to him, nervous at the sight of Fel. Mukoda asks to join the guild, and the clerk explains that there are 5 levels of merchants, on which the level of fees and taxes depends. She offers him an iron rank and hands him a guild card. Later Mukoda finds out that animals are not allowed to stay at the hotel, but Fella is more interested in what we have for dinner. Mukoda starts cooking meat, but suddenly he wants rice, so he takes another stove from his shop. While he cooks, Fel greedily watches him cook. He finishes this dish with sauce, and Fel eats it with an appetite, finding it very tasty. Mukoda gives him another steak, but Fel notices a change in taste. Mukoda says that he has different sauces, and Fel is amazed that the same meat can taste completely different. But, in the end, Fella really likes the garlic flavor. Mukoda cooks for himself, cooks a delicious bowl of beef, and he just goes crazy. When Mukoda goes to bed for the night, he quickly prepares the goods that he plans to sell. The next day, Mukoda returns to the merchant guild, wanting to sell some of his goods. When the saleswoman checks what he has, she is shocked and runs away. Flower wonders if there is some kind of problem in this, but in the end she invites him to come inside. He meets with the guild master, who inspects his goods. The guild master tells him that the quality of his salt and pepper is exceptional, they are suitable even for a king. He wonders how Mukoda came across such a product, and it turns out that he just bought it in his store. But Mukoda says he came across him during his travels, and the guild master respects his privacy. The guild master offers to buy it all for 14 gold, which shocks Mukoda, because it cost him only 5 copper coins apiece. Considering the exchange rate, the guild master thinks that he reluctantly agrees and eventually offers even more money, raising his offer to 17 gold. And Mukoda agrees to the deal. He can't believe how easy it is to make money, and now he won't have to worry about making money for a while. The next time he goes to the Adventurers Guild, and there is a completely different atmosphere. He tells the saleswoman that he wants to join her, but she shows disinterest and just hands him a form. After he fills it out, she throws him his card, which says that he starts with the rank of G. And he asks if he can get an explanation about the guild. The girl sighs and explains that adventurers are ranked from G rank to C. He can complete missions 1 level above his rank, and the guild is not responsible for any injuries or death. Mukoda looks at the vacancy announcement board and finds a simple mission to collect herbs to begin with. The next day, Mukoda starts packing up, about to go on his mission, but Fel glares at him, demanding that it's time for breakfast. The two of them make it to the fields, but Fel says he's still hungry. We didn't have enough ingredients, so Mukoda tells him that he should go hunting again. Fel agrees, but worries about Mukoda's safety if he's not around, saying he feels there are monsters around. Fel tells him not to worry by putting a protective barrier on him. He rushes away, telling Mukoda to cook dinner for him. Mukoda begins his search in search of the right herbs, but for him it is not a difficult task, because he can use his assessment skill in the field to easily find the right herbs. He easily copes with the task and even wonders if he will get a big reward for collecting more than the requested amount. Having completed his mission, he decides to start cooking dinner. Since he has run out of meat, he decides to cook cheap food that can be bought in his store, and it turns out to be spaghetti. While he was cooking, Fel returns with a stone bird and says that he really liked the teriyaki cooked the other day. He says he hunted other monsters as well, but couldn't bring them all at once, but Mukoda tells him they can pick it up later. Mukoda finishes cooking spaghetti, but remembers about the last ingredient and takes some Parmesan cheese. Fel finds the spaghetti kind of weird, but Mukoda explains that it's food from his own world. When Fel tastes them, he is pleasantly surprised and enjoys them, even though there is not much meat in them. Mukoda advises him to try the cheese powder, and Fel is amazed at its richer taste. In the end, Fel makes a mess by dousing himself with sauce, and Mukoda laughs at the sight. Mukoda is suddenly shocked when he sees a mountain of monsters that Fel was hunting. There are a variety of monsters and Mukoda begins to stuff them into his warehouse. He wonders if everything is edible when he recognizes an orc, but Fel tells him that orcs are considered delicacies, in fact, just treating them like walking pigs. Now that all the monsters have accumulated, it's time to return to the city. Mukoda goes to the Adventurers Guild, publishes herbs in his hands. The girl is surprised that he has so many of them, says that he must have been lucky and pays him 9 silver coins for herbs. Mukoda then asks about selling monsters, surprising the girl, but he points to Fela and the girl is stunned to see him. She quickly comes to her senses and points him to the guild butcher. Mukoda pulls out the orc, and the man is worried about the free space, so they head to the back entrance. The butcher tells Mukoda that he heard about him from the rumors that went around the city. Mukoda pulls out a whole mountain of monsters, shocking the man with their number and the fact that there are also several air-rank monsters there. Mukoda asks him to skin all the monsters, saying that he will sell all the materials except meat. When there are so many monsters, the butcher tells him to come back the next day. Mukoda asks him to skin one of the monsters so that they have something for dinner, so the man cooks one of the orcs for him. Mukoda starts cooking dinner and we learn that his ability to store food can protect him from spoilage. He cuts orc meat into pieces, sprinkles it with flour and fries it. He finishes the meal with the leftover sauce left over from that dinner. Fel greedily devours the food, saying that the meat of the orc is much more tender than the usual meat of boredom. The image of an orc infuriates Mukoda, but when he tastes it, he is pleasantly surprised and learns not to judge things before he tastes them. The next morning Mukoda goes to the butcher's again. There is a whole mountain of meat lying there, and the man gives him his gold for all the necessary materials. He paid 202 gold pieces and Mukoda was shocked by such a sum of money. This person tells him that he cannot be so ignorant by telling him about the value of certain materials, such as shorter testicles, which are good for durability, and bear tusks that can be used for crafting. This person also hands him some demonic stones that have magical power and are dropped from air-rank monsters. This man tells him that people all over the city are talking about him, arguing about whether Fel Fenrir is really or just a great wolf. When Mukoda walks around the city, he hears people arguing with each other. He thinks it's time for them to leave and tells Fela that they shouldn't stay in the same place for too long. Fel says he doesn't mind, but says he's hungry again after seeing a mountain of meat. The two of them get out of the city and find a place to set up camp. When Mukoda goes to cook dinner, he decides to treat Fela to a festive dinner, since he earned him so much money. He drives up to his store, shows Fela all kinds of meat from his world and suddenly it seems to him that it's raining. But in reality, Fel is just drooling over the options. Mukoda orders a bunch of food and prepares a dish with a meat mixture from his world. Fel is amazed by the variety of textures and flavors, as he has never eaten such dishes before. Mukoda starts the main course by cooking some Japanese black wagyu, but Fel is disappointed with its small size. However, when he tastes it, he is instantly delighted and Mukoda tells him that it is from a specially grown cow. After their feast, Fel cheered up and said that he could even beat the dragon. Hearing this, Mukoda became alarmed and applied his evaluation skill to him. He was shocked to see that Fel had significantly increased all his stats. Gathering all his energy, Fel decides to go hunting, but Mukoda is worried about being left alone. Fel puts her barrier on him and says that it will be enough even to stop the dragon's breathing. Fel runs away, and Mukoda stays behind. Trusting Fel's barrier, he just prepares his bed and goes to bed. Fel is rampaging through the forest, killing a stone bird with one blow and using lightning magic to destroy a giant deer. A chimera monster appears there, but Fel unleashes a crushing lightning attack on him, causing a powerful explosion. In the morning, Mukoda can't believe his eyes when he discovers 3 mountains of monsters around him. Fel agrees that he may have gone a little overboard, but he boasts that he handled the chimera with one attack, whereas normally he would have had problems with it. As a consequence of the use of Black Vaga, Mukoda has no other choice but to exclude it from his menu. When they have a lunch break, Mukoda wonders if Fel uses magic when hunting monsters. Fel shows that he is particularly proficient in wind magic, as he has received the blessing of the wind goddess. Mukoda is amazed to see magic for the first time and wonders if it is possible for him to use magic too. Fel tells him that it should be possible if he has magic power, so he checks his stats and finds that he should be able to use magic. He asks Fel to give him instructions, but Fel just tells him that he just needs to think about it. Mukoda thinks it means just imagining it and tries to use a fireball, but nothing happens and he gets embarrassed. Fel shows him how mana flows inside his body and after a while he manages to shoot a fireball, although it is very weak. Fel comments on his training method, suggesting that he should gain experience in fighting monsters. Mukoda is worried that he might get hurt, but Fel gets annoyed and takes him away. Eventually they find some goblins, but there's a whole village of them there. Mukoda worries that there are too many of them, but seeing that he is a coward, Fel howls and attracts the attention of all the goblins. They are being chased, and Fel tells him that now he has no choice but to fight. He leaves to find the goblin boss, and Mukoda is left alone. Mukoda attacks him with his fireball, but when he tries to escape, he stumbles. When a goblin jumps on him, he is actually protected by the Fel barrier. He keeps throwing his fireballs and eventually throws one of them quite powerful. He faints after he has used up all his mana, but Fel reappears to finish what he started. When he wakes up, he is traumatized by what he has experienced. But Fel says he should thank him for helping him use magic and even feel that he has raised his level. When Mukoda checks this, he discovers that he has even acquired the skill of fire magic. As a congratulation, Fel brought the Goblin King with him. Although it is inedible, he brought it back because it contains a magic stone. Seeing that the magic stones can be exchanged for a lot of money, Fel thinks he should be rewarded with another feast, especially if he wants Wagyu steak again. But Mukoda rejects this request. Mukoda is dizzy from lack of mana, so he decides to just buy some food instead of cooking. This is a whole assortment of sweet bread, but Fel wants meat instead. Mukoda insists that he is too tired, so Fel has to settle for bread. Despite the fact that it is not meat, he finds it delicious and even asks for supplements. Mukoda tells him that if he eats too many sweets, he may get tooth decay or diabetes. But Fel tells him that this is impossible, since he is blessed by the goddess of wind and is immune to any diseases and other ailments. Fel gloats about having received a blessing, and Mukoda thinks it's unfair, because he's already so strong. Mukoda also begs to be blessed and we see that the goddess seems to be watching him. There is a commotion in the nearby town when Mukoda approaches with Fel. He quickly shows his guild card, saying that Fel is his great familiar wolf. When Fel tries to correct them, Mukoda agrees and calls him the Great Wolf so that they attract less attention. Fel suddenly talks to him telepathically, annoyed at being called the Great Wolf. The guard warns him that he will be responsible for the problems caused by Fel. When they enter the city, Mukoda suggests they find a map so they can know where they are going. Mukoda enters the tavern. A bunch of noisy adventurers have gathered there and Mukoda approaches one of the groups to ask questions. He orders a drink on the table and they happily talk to him. They tell him about different kingdoms, and when he mentions that he doesn't have a map, the men say that they have a map that was given to them by senior adventurers. They show him this book and tell him that since they have already memorized it, they offer to sell it to him for 1 gold piece. Mukoda agrees to buy her and they part ways. After the men have left, the other adventurers laugh at him, saying that he was deceived. because the card is just an ordinary item that can be bought in the guild for 1 silver. Fel comforts him, saying that this way they will earn more money and Mukoda decides to go to the east, to a country located next to the sea. But Fela is more interested in seafood that they can eat. Meanwhile, the wind goddess Menri is looking after Fel and she is curious to know about Makut who managed to sign a contract with him. After seeing all the sweets they eat, she wants to try them herself, but she knows she can't just interfere in this world, no matter what. The thought of it is just unbearable, and it drives her crazy.